Under a silent Martian sky, something impossible happened. A faint point of light moved in perfect precision across the darkness, faster than anything natural should be. It wasn't a meteor, not a satellite, not a trick of reflection. What NASA and ESA had captured was an interstellar visitor 3Y/Atlas, a body traveling more than 210,000 kilometers per hour, originating from far beyond our solar system. Only 2 other such objects have ever been recorded in human history, and none had come this close. On October 3, 2025, it passed within 30 million kilometers of Mars, close enough for sensors on the surface to detect its ghostly influence. To the untrained eye, it looked like a dim, misty blur, barely distinguishable from the background. But in that blur lay secrets older than our sun. The name 3I stands for Third Interstellar, marking its extraordinary origin. For decades, scientists have fantasized about observing a messenger from another star system up close, a piece of alien history frozen in motion. Yet, when that dream finally came true, it arrived not as a gift of knowledge, but as a riddle that fractured certainty. The story began when NASA's Perseverance rover, performing routine sky observations above Jezero crater, detected a faint drifting signal, a moving dot between the stars. Moments later, ESA's ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter and Mars Express confirmed it. The same target, the same motion, perfectly synchronized. Within hours, they had captured the first ever recorded footage of an interstellar object from another planet's perspective. The discovery should have been a triumph, and yet it came wrapped in confusion, because the data made no sense. 3I/Atlas was moving with unnatural stability. Frame after frame showed no flicker, no rotation, no visible tail, nothing that resembled the chaotic behavior of comets. Its light remained perfectly constant, its trajectory razor straight. ESA analysts expected fuzzy noise, but what they saw looked calculated. The object's density readings suggested an outer shell only a few thousand kilometers thick, smaller than expected for any comet that close to the Sun. Stranger still, there was no visible outgassing. The sunlight reflecting off its surface was polarized in a way no natural dust could explain. Some described it as light that had been twisted. Meanwhile, Perseverance recorded weak radiation bursts and sudden gusts of Martian wind the same day the object flew by, as if the planet itself had briefly shuddered in response. Scientists called it coincidence, but the timing was too precise. The deeper the teams dug, the more 3I/Atlas defied every rule. Its chemical fingerprint, measured by spectral analysis, contained almost no water or ammonia, but unexpected traces of carbon dioxide, argon, and methane in ratios nearly identical to the Martian atmosphere. How could that be? The simplest explanation was contamination. Perhaps the instruments were reflecting Mars's own light. But when ground-based telescopes on Earth confirmed the same spectrum, denial was no longer an option. This was no ordinary comet. One researcher described it as a mirror from another world. Another proposed something wilder, that 3I/Atlas might be the fragment of a destroyed planet hurled into interstellar space long before Earth even formed. A cosmic orphan wandering for billions of years until fate brought it home to the red planet. But there was another darker theory whispered in labs and late-night calls between scientists. What if it wasn't born at all? What if it was made? An object not random, but deliberate. A creation that moves with purpose, designed to survive light years of radiation, gravity, and time. The thought was unsettling because if 3I/Atlas wasn't a coincidence, then it might be a message. Or worse, a test. And Mars had just been the first to notice. As scientists pored over the streams of data, the mystery deepened. The European Space Agency's spectral readings left experts in disbelief. The reflective properties of 3I/Atlas didn't match any known natural body. Instead of scattering sunlight randomly like dust and ice, should it bent and polarized light at extreme angles up to 2.77% at only 6.4 degrees, the highest ever recorded for any comet-like object. Normally, such polarization occurs near magnetars or black holes where space itself twists under unimaginable energy. Yet 3I/Atlas had no measurable magnetic field, no mass sufficient to warp light. So what was causing this cosmic distortion? Some physicists proposed that the object's surface might be covered in metallic crystals or exotic silicates. materials formed in deep, high-radiation zones of ancient galaxies. Others suggested a more radical explanation that 3I/Atlas possessed an electromagnetic structure, capable of controlling how light interacts with it, almost as if it were engineered to filter photons in specific directions. For a moment, the line between astrophysics and design blurred. Meanwhile, planetary scientists noticed another anomaly. The path of 3I/Atlas through the solar system was not random. Interstellar objects typically enter at wild angles, slicing through planetary orbits unpredictably. But this one approached at just 4.89 degrees, perfectly aligned with the plane of the planets. The probability of such precision, by chance less than 1 in 100. Coincidence or coordination? Avi Loeb from Harvard, a name that tends to ignite controversy in astronomy, categorized the object's mysteries into two groups: the explainable, its low brightness mass and strange polarization, and the unexplainable, its immaculate trajectory. Exact timing of encounters with Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, and its entry direction, which happened to be only 9 degrees away from the coordinates of the famous 1977 WOW signal, a possible radio message from deep space. The parallel was disturbing enough that even skeptics took notice. Then came the mass estimate over 33 billion tons. Yet it showed almost no signs of being pushed by solar radiation or gas emissions. In cosmic terms, it behaved less like a comet and more like a vessel, steady, precise, undisturbed. When the data reached Washington, Beijing, and Darmstadt governments grew quiet. After a brief exchange of interagency reports, the information flow stopped. NASA confirmed that the interstellar object was real, but declined to release its full telemetry, citing an administrative freeze caused by the temporary U.S. government shutdown. Officially, there was no secrecy, only bureaucracy. But as anyone who follows space history knows, silence breeds speculation. If the complete light curves and atmospheric readings ever surface, they could prove whether the light truly bent as claimed or whether the whole phenomenon was a trick of optics and timing. Until then, the question hangs: was 3I/Atlas a piece of ancient rock or a calculated machine following a route through our solar system with mathematical perfection? When 3I/Atlas finally slipped behind the Sun, the data stream faded into static. NASA's orbiters, ESA's probes, China's Tianwen-1, and even the UAE's Mars mission had all recorded fragments of its passage, but none could agree on what exactly they had seen. To some, it was a geological orphan, a shard of a long-dead planet hurled into space billions of years ago. To others, it was the first physical evidence of artificial intelligence beyond Earth, a machine built not to communicate, but to observe. The interstellar object's stability was unsettling. Natural debris wobbles, drifts, decays. 3I/Atlas maintained perfect balance, a kind of cosmic silence in motion. Scientists described it as an object that knew exactly where it was going. When journalists pressed for answers, agencies stalled, citing ongoing analysis. Yet leaked logs hinted that Mars orbiters detected electromagnetic fluctuations inconsistent with known phenomena. One classified ESA memo mentioned coherent signal interference, a phrase that instantly fueled speculation online. Was 3I/Atlas broadcasting, or was it listening without raw data? No one could say for sure. What's certain is that during its flyby, something happened in the Martian atmosphere minor, measurable but real. The idea that a fragment from another star could physically affect a planet's weather was enough to split the scientific community in half. Some argued the effects were coincident statistical noise amplified by human imagination. Others saw a clear correlation, an interstellar object passing within tens of millions of kilometers, and a sudden burst of dust storms, pressure shifts, and ionized air. The event, once dismissed as impossible, now sat uncomfortably between explanation and myth. Meanwhile, theorists revisited the chemical riddle. If 3I/Atlas truly shared gas ratios identical to Mars, carbon dioxide, argon, methane, that meant one of two things. Either it once orbited a world startlingly similar to the red planet, or it had somehow absorbed traces of Mars itself. Could its passage have collected atmospheric particles, storing them within an unknown matrix? The notion bordered on science fiction, yet every new measurement only deepened the mystery. Across global observatories, polarization data confirmed that its light behaved as if twisted by magnetism, though no magnetic source could be found. That left one chilling possibility that the object's internal structure was composed of materials capable of manipulating electromagnetic fields without generating them, a technology humanity does not yet possess. As astronomers debated, the public imagination exploded. Forums filled with claims that it was a probe, a relic, or even a warning. Governments denied all such theories, but their reluctance to share data only reinforced suspicion. A new wave of independent scientists began reanalyzing the available telemetry finding patterns that some said resembled controlled deceleration. Could 3I/Atlas have slowed down deliberately as it passed Mars? The numbers were inconclusive, but unsettlingly close to yes. In its silence, the object seemed to ask a question we weren't ready to answer. What if we're not observing the universe, but being quietly observed in return? As weeks turned into months, 3I/Atlas faded from every telescope, slipping back into the dark ocean between stars. Yet its brief appearance left humanity staring into a mirror of uncertainty. The final datasets decrypted from ESA's servers told a story that didn't fit into any conventional model. Its path around the sun was too smooth to be random, its reflectivity too precise to be chaotic. Even its thermal signature, faint but measurable, suggested an object that absorbed and emitted energy in patterns, not noise. Some called it coincidence. Others whispered the word design. By early 2026, NASA analysts quietly published partial results confirming that the object's composition couldn't be classified as purely cometary or metallic. It belonged to neither category and perhaps to both. A hybrid of ice dust and something that behaved like engineered carbon fiber, light yet unyielding. Researchers described it as impossibly strong for its size. But what unsettled the scientific world most wasn't its structure but its silence. No spin, no outgassing, no signal, and yet movement so exact it defied chance. Was 3I/Atlas a fragment of cosmic debris or a relic of intelligence that no longer exists? For some, the idea bordered on heresy. For others, it was the only explanation that made sense. Philosophers and physicists alike found themselves trapped between wonder and fear, because if something could survive interstellar space for billions of years and still move with intent, it meant we were not the first to reach this level of precision, merely the latest. Across the world, debates flared between believers in natural origin and proponents of artificial design, but the object itself gave no answers. It drifted onward beyond the reach of radio waves and light. In classrooms, students watched simulations of its path, tracing the moment it passed Mars like a silent whisper through time. In forums, ordinary people argued whether it was a sign of life or just another cold stone in space. And yet, despite all the data, something deeper lingered, the feeling that we had witnessed not just an astronomical event, but a reflection of our own curiosity staring back at us. As one astrophysicist wrote in her final report, 3I/Atlas didn't change physics, it changed perspective. Perhaps its purpose was never to deliver a message, but to remind us that the unknown still lives right above our heads. Maybe its arrival wasn't a warning, but an invitation. To think, to question, to look harder at the sky, we thought we understood. And now, as the last traces of its light dissolve into interstellar darkness, we're left with a single haunting question: if 3I/Atlas was watching us, what exactly was it hoping to see?